Having lived here for less than a few months, it is an honor and privilege to look at you in the face. I see similar black faces in Tennessee, where I'm from. But the difference is you represent the entire world. I don't get to see that very often, so it is an honor and privilege to be here. And it is an honor and privilege to introduce our next speaker, who we affectionately and lovingly and respectfully call MP Selena.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It is certainly a pleasure for me to be here, and I appreciate the invitation by the organizers. I first want to give a massive shout out to the JCA. I think I retweeted and liked every single post when that $314,000 check was on that stage. And honestly, we need to name the names. So we need to mention Dr. Denham Jolly in his contribution. And I'm going to acknowledge our guests, but I just want to say to the Jamaican community, and I'm Grenadian, as I think everybody should now know. Yeah, I know y'all love me, but nobody does it quite like Jamaicans. You guys, I know you don't need anybody else to make you puff up your chest, but and you don't need no small island people to help you puff up your chest either. But I hope that you understand what that moment meant for a lot of people. What that moment when an elder from your nation stood on a stage and very humbly, I watched the video, very humbly said a few words and then presented a check so that you could own this place. Wow. That is such a powerful moment. Imagine what you could do with that forever. So when we talk about legacy, that is what happened on this stage a few days ago. So it is a pleasure for me to be here. Dr. Garvey, I'm humbled to be in your presence. When this chair came out, that was so powerful. That moved me. Sister who did the Black National Anthem, I don't know where she is, but every time I hear that, it makes me like, I want to do the whole thing like this. You know what I mean? I would lift every voice like this. You know what I mean? But, you know, I try to keep it. So I'm going to be a little different from Greg. Greg says that we're kind of like a yin and yang, where he's a good guy. But I like to rough and tumble it a bit. Anybody who follows me on social media knows that I'm going to push a little. And if I have a microphone during an election year, a couple months before an election, you know I'm going to talk about something that we need to push on. So, Greg mentioned the recognition of the International Decade for People of African Descent that our government recognized a couple of years back. Well, I'm independent now, but I could still say our, Greg, I hope you don't mind. Where we look at the recognition, justice, and development for people of African descent. And Greg also mentioned that we should not be afraid. Do not be afraid. In my opinion, recognizing the International Decade for People of African Descent was the easy part. That was the easy part. It's what you do afterwards that tests your mettle and your dedication to our community, the dedication to us. So when we talk about recognition, justice, development, we're here at the invitation of the Black Chamber of Commerce. How many businesses does the government of Canada solicit for procurement? How many Black-owned businesses does the government of Canada have contracts with? That is a challenge. That is a question we need to ask. They're one of the biggest procurer of services in the country. How many are done with Black-owned businesses? I was talking to a young woman earlier today, Dakota. Dakota, is that correct?
Dakota.
Yes. Tech company, young, brilliant lady. How many of you in this room who own businesses have thought about how to engage with the federal government and have that business procure that service done through the government of Canada? When we look at the issue of justice and mandatory minimums, that was something that should have been done, that we should have looked after, and they still exist. This is under the decade. This is something that us as a community need to push for to ensure that there is the political will. 1.2 million of us. We can't look at the shiny thing, and I'm not here to diss the government. Look, we got money in the budget. We have Viola Desmond on a $10 bill. I'm not here to diss. I am saying that we need to push. We need to push, because you can't show me Viola Desmond on a $10 bill while our sons are rotting away in a racist justice system. You can't tell me to look at a $10 bill. We can't do that. You can't tell me to look at a $10 bill when we can't get expungements for a dime bag of weed. Come on now. Come on now. It's legal. And we'll challenge, there'll be challenges against that. But you know what? The over-surveillance of our community that allows for some of these people with a dime bag of weed to sit and rot in jail, expunge it. Don't show me a $10 bill. As nice as it is, show me what you are going to do to make sure that our community thrives, to make sure that our young people could come and occupy this space so that they don't have to go somewhere else where they turn off the lights at 11 p.m. This is what we need to push ourselves to do. And I know that when I speak, it's Selena is damning and indicting the government. I'm not doing that. We need to push people to do better. I should never come into a room and feel comfortable enough to sit on a podium and just say platitudes. I should be able to feel uncomfortable. I should sweat a little. Because you all have expectations. You gave me this borrowed job. It's a borrowed job. And if you don't do it right, you vote out. It's a borrowed job. It don't belong to nobody. It doesn't belong to anybody. So, my challenge to each and every one of you, especially under the decade which the government of Canada has recognized, is to ensure that when we look at the issues of recognition, we see tangible evidence that we are being recognized. When we look at justice, we see tangible evidence that justice for our people is being served. And when we see development, ask, how many businesses, Black-owned businesses, have contracts with the government of Canada? That is your evidence that this government actually recognizes the decade and recognizes us as 1.2 million people who could vote them in and vote them out. Thank you.